Okay, this is Splash ABC resource, and that was recommended on Scootle. So let us have a look. This is about playing with text. It is gonna to teach children all that is needed. So I just want to have a look. So look at this here. There's many sort of, it looks like this. So you can sequence stories. That would be interesting. Map a story. Focus on purposeful text. This looks like it's gonna be a long video because we're gonna actually have a look at all of those. So sequencing stories and pictures, unscrambled dragons, jumble garden in 4 parts, and then what's that? Okay, let's have a look at tasks. What do they have here? Okay, so some ideas to build upon. Identify the signal words in the game. That's it. Do this, do that. That's a signal word. Is there anything else in the text? Discuss how pictures help to sequence events. Okay, look, this is just gonna be just games. So let's have a look. And compare with some of the games I have taught you in unit, how to actually use technology as opposed to this. So click to play. We will click to play. 4 parts. All right. When is it gonna happen? Start. You can't hear him snore, but I can because my computer doesn't record the screen's audio. All right, what do I do next?
Oh, hello.
Let me.
I'm very tired
Very
from
tired.
working in my garden.
Let
Let
me
me
tell
tell you
you
about
about
it.
it. Okay, working about garden.
I planted seeds in my garden, but now I've mixed up what happened.
Well, for whom is this? Okay, so that's presuming.
Can you put the events in order?
So they
Put
read
the
it.
pictures in the order they happen.
They read it. The child is not reading. So there is no support for children to read. It is just basically someone speaking the text. So if someone is, say, 10, they can read, but do they want to go through the exercise, right? Putting the pictures in order. It's a 10-year-old is looking at the sky, counting the stars. So that's okay. Can we put the things in order? Okay, so let's replay it.
Can you put the events in order?
Oh my goodness.
Put the pictures in the order they happen.
Oh my god. So probably this one first, then this one, then this one, then this one. Okay, so it teaches children, that there is a sequence to events, right? Now, how is it teaching them? Well,
Yes, that makes more sense.
all right, so it's teaching them because if, say, they made a mistake,
Now put the sentences in the same order they happen.
if they made a mistake,
Each
then
sentence matches a picture.
it would have told them that there was a mistake. But it doesn't provide support. So if a child doesn't know, if a student doesn't know the sequence, it didn't naturally occur to them, there is no support explaining what to do or compare with other sequences so that they can actually generalize and learn from different examples about sequence. Okay, so this is it. Now I have to put sentences in the same order as they happen. Each sentence makes a picture. Okay, so that's very helpful, isn't it? I mean, of course, I'm sarcastic because it doesn't tell me anything about the text. What it says is use whatever you know about the world knowledge. We're not teaching you any abstract vocabulary about the text, nor even any terms or concepts about how texts are constructed, how texts construct people, how texts tell people what the world is like. How texts manipulate people, and how you can, as a result, work with text to create interesting, riveting, what else is there in the text? Touching, emotionally inspiring. Anyway, I awarded this. So what's the purpose of it? When they can already read, this much, they're pretty sophisticated, right? I mean, you wouldn't want a student to be able already to read these complex sentences and not have an idea about the text. As you teach a student text, you should be also teaching them what text is, which is its emotions, and emotions organized according to a sequence. So you should be your students, when they are at the level that they actually can read this, they should already know it, right? Because that actually you do it as from early years, and all the time when you work with text, you work with those structures, say, for example, the ones I suggested to you. I mean, I'm sure there are other ways of looking at text, but this is no way. This, what they show here, it's what computers can do very simply. So if someone can create a story like this in 5 seconds using computer software, but there's nothing actually, there's no support here. This is just all assessment, right? I watered the seedlings, I walked to my garden. So I walked to my garden. Blah. Now you can, I walked to my garden. Notice that if you used the avatar, you could actually, now you as a teacher, if you want to use the silly resource, I mean, there are places for silly resources like this, because you can actually um, compile many of those primitive resources like this one, and then create yourselves a sequence of support materials. So this could have a place somewhere as a support, but not as a teaching resource, because this doesn't teach anything. So it examines your knowledge as it examines mine now. So, but if a child was able, well, they're not able to copy it, right? You can't copy it. So the child can use avatar, and now a little child, and now try to type what they see here, and then make the avatar read it, and make this person read it, make the avatar read it, and if the avatar reading is the same as here, they know that they typed in the text correctly. And then they can actually try from memory, retype the letters. Now that's fun. That's fun. Forget the garden. That's fun with the avatar, because you have power, your own power being tested, which means you type into the avatar, you play with your memory, and you also play with the avatar saying all kinds of things, right? So they will not necessarily straight away type I walked to my garden. They might type anything, and the avatar will say whatever they typed in, not necessarily what they were supposed to type in. And that's fun, that's empowering. This is a little bit, as I said, primitive. I mean, I know about technology. I've worked in technology for many, many years with my husband being actually a designer and a pioneer in technology and education, especially in second language teaching. And this is just it takes no time. I watered the seedlings. I mean, there's no way you could actually, if a student doesn't necessarily know what this text says, but you can do some things with students here. I mean, that doesn't tell you what, but I will tell you, which is a typical thing in English. Typically in English, unless there is something in front of the I or in front of the predicate verb, so typically you have a noun, which is a subject, and then predicates. You would have noun, verb, noun, verb, right? So why not? Why not ask students if, I mean, you do some other game with them to this. I walked, I did, right? So they know that the verb comes second. So they could actually, even if they can't yet, if they're not fluent yet at reading, they can actually be sensitized to the fact that the second word will be the verb. And if they can't read it, they can actually type it into the avatar, those letters, and then they will know. Here, what they didn't do, this is what makes software more complicated. If they actually divided each of those words into, if a student was able to actually click on the word separately and get the reading of it, so that if I clicked on I, then it would say I. If a student clicked on used, they would have got I used. If a student clicked on I used, then the voice would have said I used. You can see technology can do amazing things. I can tell you another thing. Of course, if a student click on the whole sentence but asks it to be played backwards, then it should have done it too. Soil in the soil, rose in the soil, dig rose in the soil, to dig rows in the soil, a spade to dig rows in the soil. Use the spade to dig rows in the soil. I use the spade to dig rows in the soil. That should have been able to do too. Nah, but that would have been a bit of work, and that would have made your students think. It would have created a support resource for your students, but it takes time to do it. And why do it when you can publish this on abcnet.au, a game like this, but even your students could do it in 5 minutes, right? Anyway, so now you know what computers can and can't do. So if students can type those verbs into the avatar, they make they can actually start using this more as a resource rather than whatever it is. No, I don't know what's the pedagogical purpose of this game. But if you build things around it, as I just said, you could use it. I use a spade to dig rows. What else? I planted the seeds. So it could be that. There you go. It tells me it's all good. Yes, because I have a PhD.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, but I am 50 something and I did that.
Put the words in the order that describes what happened.
Okay, so here we go. This is how you come up with it. This is how it's to teach. I mean, the video presumes that your child is silly, primitive, right? Now, you know that children at the age of 6, or I don't know, 6, 5, they do amazing things. All you have to do is to switch on to X Factor, and they can sing songs, they can do things. Why can they do it? Because they're talented. They have a higher IQ. How do you know that? There's an assumption that there's an assumption that some of us are genetically just gods and some of us are not. But how much work did we put into those children who actually are not performing out there? So, like for example, here there's an assumption that that that's what creates the text, right? Nobody speaks next, last, or to begin with, then, last of. I mean, okay, so that's one, because they teach them procedural text, but it doesn't. So to begin with, okay, to begin with, is this the best way to start a procedural text? And you would say yes, because that's what we teach. Well, but when I was saying that the text has to be, that the text is a sequence of emotions, right? An author wants to effect an emotional response in the audience. To begin with, is this the most effective? To begin with, we use when we already have actually intrigued and inspired the audience to listen to us. We gave them the reason, and then in order to sort of develop more, then we could say to begin with, we don't start the text to begin with. It's not inspiring, but let's go with it to begin with. Then, well, then next, well, probably next. Then, last of all. All right, now we're all happy. Now imagine, what are your students learning? But there are particular ways of starting procedural text. To begin with, I use flour. Next, I do this. Then I put water, and then I mix it all, and last of all, I eat it. I'm not quite sure that this is actually how procedural texts necessarily need to be taught. I'm just gonna go to the next to see what I. Yeah, perfect.
Now what happened is in the right order.
Well, we have a right order to comply with the rules of the game, but what have we learned? Is this how the Cinderella story starts? To begin with, there was a mother and a father. Then next, the mother died. Then, and children talk like this. To begin with, the mother died. First, there was a mother in the family, and then mother died, and then next, the father got married, and then last of all, they were all unhappy. I'm not sure. You see, without comparing and contrasting different texts, so you can use this resource again with other games to actually allow students to compare how maybe Cinderella would go on and how to bake a cake would go on. Let's have a look. But I still do not say that this is the structure, because in my view, if you set the focus and did go through the processes that I actually create, and you even have a dialogue. It is optional to do this. Some people put this, some people do that, and kids go, oh my god, this is really interesting, we can make a cake like this and like that. The world doesn't always have to be really simple. Children don't have simple brains. We infantilize them. Anyway, now you know my 3 cents. Let's move on.
To begin with, I walked to my garden.
Okay.
Next, I used a spade to dig rows in the soil. Then, I planted seedlings in the rows. Last of all, I watered the seedlings with a watering can.
So this is all being said as the text comes up, right? Now, when the person, so the assumption is that the students can actually already read it, I suspect, because there's no support of in reading. And so the assumption is, as I said before, the students can read it. Somehow, for some inexplicable reason, they are not aware of a sequence of text. So I don't know what reading meant, what knowing how to read meant when the teacher was teaching the students to read, because you cannot read unless you actually are aware of the structure of the text, and not structure of the text like 1, 2, 3, because that's functionalist kind of approach, kind of total simplifying, right? Text is always generated by anyone, like even today by me or by you, to change someone's mind, right? And it's actually a very complicated process.
You're good at this.
Yeah.
Can you help me with another one? I gathered peaches from my garden, but now I've mixed. Can you put the events in order?
Okay. So
Pictures in the order they happen.
So I presume it will be again first, next, blah, blah. Okay, well, there we go. I wonder whether they will have anything else. So that was one game. Let's have a look. Is there any other game? I might create another video to see whether there's another game.